Okay, so picture this. It is a characteristically dreary gray winter day in 2016. We're in Amsterdam.
Right. You just feel it. The rain is probably hitting the window pane. The sky is that sort of flat slate color.
Exactly. And we are looking over the shoulder of a man named Jan Six.
And we really need to establish who Jan 6 is, right off the bat, because he isn't just anybody.
No, not at all.
He's basically Dutch art royalty. His ancestor, who is also named Jan 6, was actually painted by Rembrandt himself back in 1654.
Wow.
So this guy has the old masters in his DNA. He's an art dealer, a historian, a man who has looked at, tens of thousands of Dutch Golden Age paintings. He knows the texture of the paint, the way the light hits the canvas.
He knows the smell of the varnish.
He knows the smell.
Hmm.
So on this dreary Tuesday, he's doing what he always does, coffee in hand, and he's flipping through a Christie's auction catalog from London.
Just a normal morning routine, probably something he's done 1,000 times, just scanning, turning pages.
Looking for anything interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he stops. He just freezes. On a specific lot.
What's the painting?
It's titled Portrait of a Young Gentleman. Now, Christie's, the auction house, they have estimated the value at somewhere between, say, $19,000 and $25,000.
Okay, so not nothing, but not a masterpiece price.
Not even close. And they have labeled it, and this is so crucial, as Circle of Rembrandt.
Let's pause on that label for a second. Circle of Rembrandt. What exactly does that signal to a potential buyer?
It is a very polite, very art world way of saying this is not a Rembrandt.
Right. It's a nice way of putting it.
It implies it was likely painted by a student, a disciple, maybe a fanboy, someone in his orbit, someone trying to copy the style, but absolutely not the master himself.
So the auction house is basically saying this is a really good cover band, but it is not the Beatles.
Exactly. But Jan 6, he feels something different. The book describes it as a sixth sense just firing off.
And he's just looking at an image in a catalog, right? He's not even in the room with the painting yet.
Not even close. And he gets this overwhelming sense of déjà vu. He feels like he knows this painting, even though he is certain he has never ever seen it before.
That's such a specific feeling.
It is. It's that expert intuition where your brain is processing all this data faster than your conscious mind can even catch up. And for Jan 6, the one data point that stopped him cold wasn't the man's face or the background.
It was the lace collar.
The lace collar. This is where it gets into like full-on detective novel territory.
I love this part.
Jan 6 zooms in on the young man's collar in the portrait. And it's a very, very specific style of intricate lacework. Now, 6 knows his history. He knows the timeline of Dutch fashion intimately.
Like year by year.
Down to the season, probably.
Yeah.
And he knows that this specific type of collar was a massive trend. It was a viral sensation, but only for a blink of an eye in history, specifically between 1633 and 1635.
Wait, so it was the it item for only 2 years and then it just vanished?
Completely. It was the fidget spinner of the Dutch Golden Age. By 1636, anybody was wearing it. If you wore that collar in 1636, you just looked ridiculous.
So Six is able to deduce that the painting must have been created in that super narrow window, 1633 to 1635.
Exactly. He's got a timestamp.
Okay, so we have a date. But how does that prove it's a Rembrandt? Couldn't a student have painted that same color in, say, 1634?
You would think so, right? That's the logical next question. But this is where the specific biography of Rembrandt becomes the key.
Okay.
In 1633, Rembrandt hadn't really made it yet. He was still on the way up. He was talented, no question, but he didn't have a massive studio filled with disciples and students all copying his style. He barely had assistants at that point.
So the Circle of Rembrandt, it didn't even exist yet.
Precisely. The circle hadn't formed. So if this painting is from 1634 and it looks like a Rembrandt and it's painted with Rembrandt's unmistakable technique,
There were no disciples to paint it.
it had to be him.
Yep.
There was no one else who could have done it.
That is just a brilliant piece of deduction. It's the tell, like in poker.
It's the tell. So Jan 6 decides to bet on himself. He goes to the auction. Now remember, Christie's thinks this is a student's work. They estimate the value at $19,000 to $25,000.
And Jan 6 gets into a bidding war.
A little one, yeah. But he wins the painting for roughly $185,000.
Which sounds like a lot of money for a hunch based on a collar.
It does, but in the high-stakes art world, that is absolute pocket change for a potential masterpiece. It's a rounding error.
And here's the kicker. Just a year before this auction, a pair of authentic Rembrandt portraits from that same era, They sold for $174 million.
Let that number just sink in for a moment. The difference between $185,000 and potentially hundreds of millions of dollars,
Yeah.
it comes down to one single thing,
The name attached to the canvas.
the name. That's it.
And that is the absolute core of the mystery we are unpacking today. We are doing a deep dive into the book Anointed, The Extraordinary Effects of Social Status in a Winner-Take-Most World by Toby Stewart.
And this Jan 6 story sets the stage perfectly because physically, the painting didn't change, right?
Not at all.
Not a single molecule changed. The brush strokes, the lighting, the age of the canvas, the beauty of it. It is identical whether it was painted by a student named, John Smith or by Rembrandt van Rijn.
But the value.
The value explodes. It goes up by a factor of 1,000 the moment the right name gets attached to it.
And this is what the author Toby Stewart calls the big shift. And it's not just about $100 million paintings. It's about how we as a society have stopped judging merit, the actual quality of the thing, and started judging status.
Right. It's about how this invisible force rules our economy, our choices, and honestly, our entire lives.
We really like to think we're objective judges of quality, don't we?
Oh, we love that idea. We tell ourselves we buy the best phone because it has the best processor, or we listen to the best music because it has the best melody, or we hire the best employee because they have the best skills on paper.
But that's not what's really happening.
Not according to Stewart. His argument, and it's backed by a frankly frightening amount of research, is that we are actually terrible at judging quality. We're cognitively lazy.
So we look for a shortcut.
We look for a shortcut. We look for the anointed. We look for the status. We look for the brand name, the fancy degree, the seal of approval. And that shortcut changes everything.
Okay, so let's dig into this big shift, because the book gives another example that I found in some ways even more shocking than the Rembrandt one.
I think I know which one you mean.
It's about a scientist named John William Strutt, also known as Lord Rayleigh.
Ah, yes. The great snubbing of Lord Rayleigh. This is a classic case study in the sociology of science.
So set the scene for us.
Okay, the year is 1886. And Lord Rayleigh is not some up-and-comer. He is a titan of physics. We are talking about the guy who literally explained why the sky is blue.
He figured that out.
He figured that out.
Yeah.
He's a Nobel Prize winner. He is, for all intents and purposes, the Michael Jordan of 19th century physics.
Okay, so he's big time. He is the establishment.
It's huge. And he writes this paper on electrodynamics, which was a really cutting-edge field at the time. And he submits it to the British Association for the Advancement of Science.
The most prestigious journal.
The top of the top. But there's a clerical error, just a simple mistake. His name is accidentally left off the manuscript. It's submitted anonymously.
Oh, no. So the editors get this paper, and they have no idea it's from the legendary Lord Rayleigh. They just see a paper on electrodynamics from Anonymous.
From Anonymous. And what do you think happens?
They must have rejected it.
They destroyed it.
Yeah.
They rejected it decisively. They didn't just say, oh, it's not for us. They call the author a paradoxer.
A paradoxer? What does that even mean?
It was the Victorian equivalent of calling someone a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, a pseudoscientist, crank.
They thought it was garbage.
Complete and utter garbage.
And just to be clear, this is the same paper, the same equations, the same science that Rayleigh wrote. The content has not changed one bit.
Not one iota. Then somehow, the error is discovered. The editors realize, oh my God, this isn't some crank from the countryside. This is Lord Rayleigh.
And let me guess, suddenly the garbage becomes brilliant.
Instantly. It was like a switch flipped. They apologized profusely. They rushed it into publication. They didn't ask for a single edit. They didn't say, well, the science is still a little shaky, but...
Nothing.
No. The moment the name Lord Rayleigh was attached, the paper transformed from unpublishable trash to top-notch, groundbreaking science.
This really just drives home that idea of the big shift. We evaluate the who over the what.
That is the core definition right there. The big shift is that mental shortcut where we evaluate the creator rather than the object itself. And it matters so much because resources are finite.
What do you mean?
When that journal decided to publish Rayleigh's paper, they took a spot away from someone else. Maybe there was a young, unknown scientist out there who actually did write a brilliant paper but didn't have the famous name.
It's a zero-sum game in a lot of these fields.
In many ways, yes. Status allocates opportunities. And to really get that, we have to define what status actually is. Because in our day-to-day conversation, we think of status as, vanity.
Right. Fancy cars and Instagram followers.
Exactly. But Stewart gives this great analogy in the book to define it more rigorously. He calls it the desert island scenario.
Okay, yeah. If I'm stranded on a desert island all by myself, I can have skills. I can be great at cracking coconuts. I can be strong. I can build a hut.
You can have all of that,
Yeah.
but you cannot have status.
Because there's no one else there to recognize it.
Precisely. You can have health, you can have food, you can have shelter, but status is a social resource. It cannot exist in isolation. It requires an audience. It requires at least two people.
So what is it then?
Status is essentially the amount of respect or honor or deference that a group confers upon an individual.
Hmm.
The book calls it a cloud of judgments that we walk through every single day.
I love that image, a cloud of judgments. Because you can feel it, can't you? You walk into a meeting room and you instantly know who has the status. Instantly.
You know who to look at, who to listen to when they speak. It just hangs in the air.
And we're wired for it. I mean, the book mentions that children as young as 2 years old start to recognize hierarchies. By age 4, they can tell you exactly who the boss of their friend group is.
So it's not learned, it's innate.
Evolution has imprinted this into our machinery. We are constantly, subconsciously scanning for cues, posture, tone of voice, clothes, titles, to figure out where we fit in the pecking order.
But why? Why are we so obsessed with this? Is it just vanity? Or is there something deeper going on?
Oh, it's much deeper. It's survival. And this brings us to the next big concept in the book, which he calls the other uncertainty principle.
Okay, let's unpack this. We all know Heisenberg's uncertainty principle from physics class. You can't know the exact position and the exact speed of a particle at the same time. What is the other uncertainty principle?
It starts the contrast. Think about how unbelievably good humans are at mastering the physical world. The book uses the example of NASA's Perseverance rover. Oh, this just blew my mind. We sent a robot to Mars. It traveled 292.5 million miles through the vacuum of space.
Right.
It entered the Martian atmosphere at 12,000 miles per hour. It endured something like 2,500-degree heat on its shield, and it landed exactly where we wanted it to, drilled a hole in a specific rock, and stored a sample.
It's an absolute miracle of precision. We know the laws of gravity, we know the laws of motion, we can predict the physical universe with insane, mind-boggling accuracy.
But when it comes to the social world,
We're clueless.
mm,
We are flying blind.
we are absolutely terrible at predicting what will be popular or what will be successful.
Completely. The book lists these painful, hilarious examples. Bessemer Venture Partners, one of the smartest, oldest VC firms in history. They passed on Google.
They pass on Google.
They passed on Apple. They passed on FedEx.
And Steve Ballmer, who is the CEO of Microsoft, he famously laughed out loud at the first iPhone. He said, there's no chance that the iPhone is going to get any significant market share.
Right. And you have to remember, these are not stupid people. These are certified experts in their fields. But the social world is governed by the other uncertainty principle.
So what is that principle exactly?
Life is, as Stewart puts it, a high-speed ride through clouds of maybes. We just don't know what other people will like or how they will react to something new.
And the book breaks this down into 3 flavors of uncertainty that we deal with literally every single day.
Yes. Okay, so first, there's consumer choice uncertainty. There's simply too many options. The average adult makes something like 35,000 decisions a day.
35,000, that seems high.
I know, but think about it. The book says there are 227 decisions just about food. What to eat, when to eat, how much.
Do you feel that in the toothpaste aisle? I mean, why are there 50 kinds of toothpaste? I just want clean teeth. Do I want whitening, tartar control, enamel repair, charcoal, mint, cinnamon?
Exactly. It's paralyzing. If you actually tried to research the chemical composition of every single tube to find the objectively best one, you would starve to death in the pharmacy aisle.
Okay, so that's the first flavor. What's the second?
Second, there's social behavior uncertainty. How do I act in this situation? Do I shake hands? Do I bow? Is this joke I'm about to tell appropriate for this group? We are constantly terrified of a social faux pas.
The fear of being the awkward one. It's a primal fear.
It really is. And third, there's resource allocation uncertainty. Who gets the food? Who gets the corner office? Who gets the grant money? Who gets the promotion? Without some kind of hierarchy, life would be a constant, exhausting brawl.
A WWE-style brawl over who gets the last apple.
Precisely. So, because this cloud of uncertainty, too many choices, fear of acting wrong, fighting over resources, is so stressful and overwhelming, we desperately need a solution. We need a shortcut.
And that shortcut is anointment.
We let the anointed choose for us.
We just outsource the decision.
We do. If we see that a high-status person likes something or does something or buys something, we just copy them. It saves us the brain power. It reduces the social risk.
The best example of this in the book has to be the little black dress. Because today, every woman has one, or knows what it is. It's a staple. It's the safe choice for any event.
The default setting.
Right. But I had no idea that before the 1920s, wearing a black dress was, well, it wasn't a fashion statement.
No, it was the opposite. It was for servants, or it was for mourning. If you wore a simple black dress, it meant either someone you loved had just died, or you were about to go clean the house. It was not chic. It was designed to be invisible.
So what changed?
Coco Chanel changed. And importantly, by the time she did this, Chanel was already anointed. She had massive status in Parisian high society. She introduced a simple, elegant black dress.
Ow.
And because she did it,
Everyone paid attention.
everyone paid attention. Vogue magazine put it on the cover,
Yeah.
and they called it Chanel's Ford, like the Model T car.
Implying it would be the new uniform for the modern woman.
Exactly. And just like that, because the Anointed said it was cool, the entire cultural meaning of the color black in fashion changed.
It reduced the combinatorics of fashion, as the book says.
It did. Instead of worrying about thousands of colors and fabrics and styles, society collectively said, okay, when in doubt, just wear the black dress. Anointment acted as a personal stylist for the entire Western world.
That's the real power of the shortcut. It restricts our options, which sounds like a bad thing, but it actually prevents us from going crazy with decision paralysis.
Exactly. We don't really choose, we defer. We defer to the choices made by the elite, and most of the time we don't even realize we're doing it.
But this deference, I mean, it has a really dark side, because if we are just looking at the who and not the what, doesn't that imply that merit, actual hard work, actual talent, doesn't matter as much as we think it does?
Welcome to Section 3, the myth of meritocracy. This is where the book gets really provocative,
Yeah, this part was tough to read.
because we love to believe in what he calls the worker bee fallacy.
The worker bee fallacy. That's the idea that if I just put my head down, I work hard, I produce the best honey, I will automatically be recognized and rewarded.
Right. We believe that status is a direct result of contribution. But history is just littered with worker bees who got crushed by the queens. The book tells the absolutely tragic story of Alfred Russel Wallace versus Charles Darwin.
I actually felt so bad for Wallace reading this. So Wallace is a naturalist. He's out in Indonesia. He's sweating in the jungle, catching beetles for a living.
He's battling malaria. He has no money.
Mm.
He is the definition of a worker bee. And he basically figures out natural selection. He writes a paper on it first.
He did it first. He wrote the paper describing the theory of evolution by natural selection, and he sends it to Darwin, of all people, who he really admired.
He sends it to Darwin for feedback.
And what did Darwin do?
Well, Darwin had been sitting on his own very similar theory for years, totally afraid to publish it. When he gets Wallace's paper, he panics. He realizes he is about to get scooped by this unknown beetle collector.
But Darwin had something Wallace didn't.
He had status. He was from the incredibly wealthy and influential Wedgwood family, the Pottery dynasty. He was a proper English gentleman. Wallace was a nobody, a collector who sold bugs to rich people for money.
So Darwin's powerful, high-status friends stepped in.
They did. They arranged for a joint publication at a prestigious society meeting. But let's be honest about what happened. Darwin got all the glory. Darwin is on the currency. Darwin's name is synonymous with evolution. Wallace is a footnote, if that.
Because Darwin had the pedigree. He was already anointed.
And that is the harsh reality. As the book quotes, meritocracy is the propaganda we use to bless the charade.
Ooh, that's a strong statement.
It is. But the argument is that we use the idea of merit to justify why the rich and famous are where they are, but often it's just status protecting its own.
The book has a name for this mechanism. It calls it competence confusion.
Yes. We confuse identity with competence. We use proxies and shortcuts. If we don't have the time or, the expertise to judge if a doctor is actually good at medicine, what do?
We look at their diploma on the wall. We look at their nice office.
We look at the nice office, but we also subconsciously look at their race, their gender, their height, how they speak.
We fall back on stereotypes.
We do. The book points out the painful reality that a white male is often assumed to be a leader or to be competent until he's proven otherwise, whereas a minority candidate often has to prove their competence first just to get to the same starting line.
That is the big shift applied directly to human beings. We're judging the container, not the contents.
And the people who control these judgments, the anointers, they have an immense amount of power. We talked about Christie's auction house. But the book also mentions critics, like Robert Parker in the wine world.
Oh, the Parker effect. This was fascinating.
It's real. He created the 100-point scale for wine. Before Parker, wine reviews were just, flowery language. It tastes of sunshine on a summer day with a hint of melancholy.
Which means nothing.
Nothing. Parker gave it a number. And if Robert Parker gave a Bordeaux a 95 or above, the price of that wine could double or triple overnight globally. If you gave it an 85, the winery might go bankrupt.
So one man's nose determined the fate of millions and millions of dollars.
He was the ultimate anointer.
And the book says status is kinetic, right? You can transfer it to someone else.
Yes, he calls it status in motion. And the best story about this in the entire book is Marilyn Monroe and Ella Fitzgerald.
I love this story so much. So Ella Fitzgerald is, obviously one of the most talented singers of all time. But in the 1950s, she couldn't get booked at the Macombo Club.
And the Macombo was the club in Hollywood. If you played there, you were a legitimate star. But the management wouldn't book a black jazz singer. They thought she wasn't glamorous enough.
They wanted the classic Hollywood starlet look.
Exactly. Enter Marilyn Monroe.
The ultimate status symbol.
At that time, she was the definition of glamour. And she was a huge fan of Ella's music. So she called the owner of the club and made him a deal. She said, if you book Ella for a week, I will sit in the front row at the very first table every single night.
And she promised to bring the press with her.
And she did it. She was there every night. And because Marilyn, the Anointed One, was there, the press was there. And because the press was there, all of Hollywood was there. And Ella Fitzgerald became an absolute sensation.
Marilyn used her status to anoint Ella. She transferred some of her light, her status, onto Fitzgerald.
It really shows that status isn't just about being cool. It's a tool. If you have it, you can give it away to someone else without losing any of your own.
That's the magic of it, isn't it?
It is. If I give you $100, I have $100 less. If I give you status by endorsing you or your work, I don't lose any of mine. In fact, I might even gain some by looking like a generous and important tastemaker. It's a renewable resource for the people who already have it.
But this leads directly to a kind of snowball effect, doesn't it? If status begets more status, then the people at the top just keep getting higher and higher.
Exactly. And that brings us to section 4, the Matthew effect.
Which is named after that biblical verse from the Gospel of Matthew, "For unto every one that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance.
But from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath."
Basically, the rich get richer.
And the poor get poorer. And the book uses this hilarious, but also kind of tragic analogy to explain this. Hoover the fish.
Poor little guy. I feel for little guy. Tell us about Hoover.
So the author, Toby Stewart, he had a fish tank when he was a kid. He bought 2 identical goldfish, named one Hoover and the other one Little Guy.
Okay.
Now, Hoover had a tiny, completely random advantage. He had a slight mouth injury, or maybe it was a deformity from birth, that actually made him a more efficient eater. It acted like a little vacuum cleaner.
Hence, Hoover.
Right. So because Hoover could eat just a little bit faster, he got slightly more food at feeding time. Because he got more food, he grew slightly bigger than Little Guy. Because he was bigger, he could start to bully Little Guy away from the food.
And the cycle just reinforces itself over and over.
Within a few months, Hoover was the size of a carp, completely dominating the tank. And Little Guy just withered away and eventually died.
And that all started from a tiny, almost imperceptible, random initial difference.
That is the Matthew effect in a nutshell. It's cumulative advantage. A small, random head start can lock in a permanent win. And the book outlines 3 specific boosters that make this effect so powerful in our modern society.
Okay, what's booster number 1?
Uncertainty. We've talked about this. When quality is really hard to judge, like with modern art or venture capital or fine wine, we rely entirely on status. So the person or product with the early lead takes everything. If you don't know who is best, we just bet on the one who's already winning.
It's a safe bet. Okay, booster number 2.
Social influence. We are social creatures. We like what other people like. It's a coordination mechanism. I buy the Coldplay tickets because you are buying them and we want to go together. I want to read the book everyone is talking about so I can join the conversation at a party.
This concentrates all the attention on the one anointed winner.
It does. It pushes everyone towards the same choice. And what's booster 3?
Digitization. The internet.
The internet. In the old days, you could be the best singer in your town and make a good living. Now, you are competing with Taylor Swift and every other singer on the planet simultaneously. Digitization creates winner-take-all markets on a global scale. The distribution costs are basically zero, so everyone just gravitates to the #1 spot.
But here's the twist in this section that really, I don't know, it kind of depressed me. The expert in the book argues that money follows status, which is what we expect, but then that money actually creates merit.
This is the most insidious part of the whole system. It's the self-fulfilling prophecy of status.
Explain that.
Okay, let's say a young scientist gets anointed early on in their career. Maybe they get into Harvard, not because they were the smartest, but because of a legacy admission. It was luck or status.
Okay, they had a head start.
Right. Because they are at Harvard, they get access to the best labs in the world. They get mentored by Nobel laureates. They get the most grant money.
So their research actually becomes better than everyone else's.
Exactly. The status attracted the resources, which then improved the merit. So 10 years down the line, they are objectively the best scientists in their field. But it wasn't because they were born smarter. It's because the system fed Hoover and starved little guy. The prophecy came true.
The book calls these elite networks invisible colleges.
Yes. And it's such a great term. These elite networks, they share private information, they share stock tips, early research findings, job openings that are never posted publicly. If you are in the invisible college, you get the answers to the test before the test even starts.
And if you're on the outside, you never even see the opportunity.
You don't even know the game is being played.
Yeah. So being anointed sounds fantastic then. I mean, you get the money, the resources, the status, the insider info. But the next section, section 5, is titled Heavy is the Head. So apparently it's not all champagne and parties.
No. High status comes with its own very distinct set of neuroses and anxieties. The author shares a really funny personal story about being a diaper dandy.
I laughed out loud at this. He was a very young-looking professor when he started at the University of Chicago, and the students just mocked him relentlessly.
They called him diaper dandy in the school newspaper.
Yeah.
But the serious point is he felt immense anxiety. He felt like a total fraud who was about to be found out.
Imposter syndrome.
A classic case.
Yeah.
And the book identifies 4 main ways that the anointed interpret their own success. How do they sleep at night knowing that luck and status played such a huge role in where they are?
Okay, let's run through these 4 self-interpretations. What's number 1?
Imposturing. The feeling of, I'm a fake. This is Emma Watson saying she feels like she doesn't belong. It's the constant fear of being exposed. The higher you rise, the harder you might fall. You're constantly waiting for someone to tap you on the shoulder and say, excuse me, we know you don't actually belong here.
It must be exhausting. Okay, number 2.
The P word. Privilege, or more accurately, the complete denial of it. This is the person who says, I earned this, all of it, entirely on my own.
The bootstraps narrative.
It's motivated reasoning. People convince themselves that their Hoover advantage was actually just superior swimming technique. They actively erase the role of luck from their own life story to protect their ego.
Okay, what's number 3?
Divine intervention. God chose me. This is the core of the prosperity gospel. If I am rich and successful, it is because I am morally righteous and I am blessed by God.
This is a powerful psychological tool.
Incredibly powerful, because it morally justifies the inequality. I'm not lucky, I'm chosen. The poor are poor for a reason.
And the final one, number 4.
Humility. Just simple gratitude, acknowledging the enormous role that luck played. I am here, and I am grateful for the opportunities I had. This is probably the healthiest response, but also probably the rarest.
And the book also talks about the actual physical cost. He calls it the status syndrome.
Yes. You might think being the CEO or the person at the top lowers your stress, but the stress of maintaining that status is exhausting. You're in a 247 performance.
Think of someone like Taylor Swift or Elon Musk. They have no backstage.
None. They are always performing the public persona of Taylor Swift or Elon Musk. They can never just be a normal person.
As the book says, the anointed don't get to fail in private.
Exactly. If you or I trip on the sidewalk, nobody cares.
Yeah.
If a celebrity does it, it's a global meme within an hour. That constant scrutiny, that isolation, the lonely at the top reality is very real.
You start to wonder about your relationship.
Absolutely. You become cynical. Do my friends actually like me? Or do they like my status? Do they like what I can do for them?
That cynicism must be poisonous to your soul.
It is. It completely isolates you.
Okay, so we have to talk about the inevitable result of a system where status is worth so much money and power, people are going to cheat.
Oh, absolutely. That's section 6. Deception, fraud, and the future. If status is a currency, people will find a way to counterfeit it.
The book goes way back in history for a great example of this, George Salmanazar.
The fake Formosan. This is one of the greatest con man stories of all time. This guy in the 1700s convinced all of London high society that he was a native from Formosa, which is modern-day Taiwan.
And nobody in London knew anything about Taiwan.
Nothing. So he just made it all up. He invented language, he invented customs, he wrote a best-selling book about it. He was the toast of London for years.
And he was just some random French guy.
Just a French guy with a lot of confidence and a good story. But today, we don't have fake Formosans. We have Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. We have Volkswagen's Dieselgate scandal.
Why do the elites cheat? They already have so much.
The book calls it elite opportunism. And there are two things happening. One is pure narcissism. They develop this reality distortion field, like Steve Jobs was famous for. They genuinely believe the rules are for little guys, not for them.
And the second reason.
Protection. High status acts as a shield. We automatically trust the anointed. If a Nobel Prize-winning scientist publishes a paper with some weird data, we don't check it as rigorously as we would for a first-year grad student.
We give them the benefit of the doubt.
We do, and that trust creates a massive blind spot that fraudsters can exploit for years.
So where do we go from here? The book wraps up with a look at the future of all this. I mean, can we fix this system?
It's tough. The book argues that we currently use bootstrapping narratives to keep everyone calm. The whole Horatio Alger rags to riches story. If you just work hard enough, you can be like me.
It's a sedative for the masses.
It is. It keeps the little guys swimming hard in the tank, hoping that one day their mouths will magically turn into a vacuum cleaner. But the book introduces the philosopher John Rawls' concept, the veil of ignorance.
This is a great thought experiment.
It's fantastic. Rawls says, imagine you are about to be born, but you don't know who you're going to be. You don't know if you'll be rich or poor, black or white, male or female, born healthy or with a disability.
Behind this veil of ignorance.
Exactly. What kind of system would you design, not knowing where you would land in it?
You would design a system that protects the people at the bottom, just in case you end up there.
You'd build a massive safety net, and we definitely do not live in that system.
And the future might get even weirder with the rise of AI.
This is the big speculative question at the end. We're moving away from human critics, from the Robert Parkers and the journal editors, and we're moving towards AI agents. Algorithms are the new anointers.
Is that going to be better, more objective?
Probably not. The risk is that if the AI is trained on our biased history, it will just codify the Matthew effect. It will see that historically, papers by Lord Rayleigh got published and papers by Anonymous didn't. So it will learn to recommend papers from authors with high-status affiliations.
So it will make the bias harder to see because it's hidden inside millions of lines of code.
That is the chilling thought. We are automating the snobbery.
We're teaching the machines to enact the big shift for us.
Precisely.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a huge amount of ground here. From the lace collar of Jan 6 to the fish tank of inequality.
It's a lot to process. It's a really dense book.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what does this all mean for you, the listener? What's the takeaway?
I think the summary is this. We live in a world where we think we are judging merit, but we are actually, most of the time, just judging status. The big shift is real, and it's happening all around us.
And anointment is the shortcut we all use to survive uncertainty.
But that very same shortcut creates massive runaway inequality, the Matthew effect.
Yeah.
And while being anointed looks great from the outside, it comes with its own heavy crown of anxiety and isolation.
So a final provocative thought for everyone listening to take with them.
I think it would be this. Next time you are about to buy something, a bottle of wine, a best-selling book, a pair of shoes, or the next time you are listening to a guru or an expert on TV, just stop for 1 second and ask yourself, is this actually good, or has it just been anointed? Am I making a choice, or is the ultimate shortcut making that choice for me?
See the invisible strings pulling you.
Exactly. And if you can, try to cut one of them.
That's it for this deep dive into Anointed by Toby Stewart. Thanks for listening, and stay curious.